independent and very competitive whitewater rafting companies merge into one. Who's in charge and is it working? That's coming up next on Your Business.
It's not just any business, it's your business. That's why American Express Open is proud to present Your Business on MSNBC.
Everyone, I'm JJ Ramberg, and welcome to Your Business, where we give you tips and advice to help your business grow. A friendly rivalry can sometimes be good for business, but imagine going head-to-head with the same competitors year after year, and then one day, you're co-workers. That was the case for the employees at the three whitewater rafting companies that merged in West Virginia. While the decision to join forces was clearly good for business, the owners never realized it would quickly become a lesson in conflict management. Once upon a time, in the wild and wonderful mountains of West Virginia, there were three river rafting companies: Class 6 river runners, Mountain River Tours, and Rivermen. They had all started in the 1970s, and each had their very own personality.
Class 6 are wine drinkers, Rivermen are beer drinkers.
They were friendly competitors, and they all loved running the business they were running.
You know, we often disagree. The Class 6 guys are often wrong, but that's okay, I'm wrong also.
We were fueled by passion. We weren't fueled by cash. We weren't fueled by anything other than we were doing what we loved.
So you can only imagine what it was like when the owners of these companies were approached about merging their operations into one.
When Paul first called me, I really wasn't interested. I actually said no. We had a good gig going. We were growing. We were making money. Not a lot, but we were paying our bills.
That's Brian Campbell, the founder of Rivermen. The Paul he's referring to is Paul Buechler, a former financial guy who spent his weekends as a river guide for Class 6. A few years ago, Paul saw an opportunity to change his job, his lifestyle, and become the CEO of a new, or sort of new, company.
First thing I realized that in this industry, they were very profitable at one time, and because of overcapacity, price cutting, and a little bit of a decline in revenue due to users, that they weren't nearly as profitable, and that to make this work, I was going to have to merge at least two, if not three together.
And that's how the idea for the Lansing, West Virginia-based Adventures on the Gorge was born. Paul approached all three company owners. Everyone involved sensed that the deal wouldn't be a simple one.
I did see some challenges because we were competitors, for sure. And, you know, that relationship we had to work on.
But soon enough, Paul was able to convince them that the key to their collective survival was joining forces.
There's a point in a family business where the family is necessary for its survival. There's a point in a business where the business outgrows the family. And the Rivermen were at that point.
So they came to an agreement, got a team of investors, and each founding owner maintained partial ownership in the new company, with Paul serving as the CEO. While the founding companies all fall under the Adventures on the Gorge umbrella, the brands themselves live on independently. When I walk around this campus here, I still see logos for all three companies. Why do that? It seems more expensive and maybe a bit confusing for your company.
The loyalty is to the brand. In lots of cases, these companies have been around for 30+ years. When you say the Rivermen or you say Class 6, they automatically become emotional and tied to that brand.
But Adventures on the Gorge means nothing to them.
Adventures on the Gorge means nothing to them, and that's the tricky part.
And it's not just the customers. While some departments were easy to merge, others were not.
Rivermen are very passionate. Class 6 was very passionate. Adventure Mountain River Tours was very passionate. So guess what? There was a fair amount of culture clash.
Many employees who lived through the merger are still quite loyal to the individual brands.
I found a lot of the backroom operations, housekeeping, accounting, maintenance, even the reservation staff, the office staff, were easy to merge. The most difficult has been the guides.
Because they were the personalities and competitors, really.
They're competitors, and anybody that is in charge of 8 people for a day, getting them down a river safely has got to have an ego. And some of them have very large egos. There's a section of river where one of the companies puts in at one place and another one puts in about 2 miles downriver. And one of the companies feels like where they put in is the best experience for the customer, and the other one feels where they put in is the best experience for their customers, and I can't seem to get them to agree on putting in at one place.
And there are other disagreements that to an outsider may seem small, but have taken on a life of their own.
The Rivermen, they put ice in the bottom of their coolers to keep the lunch meats cool during the day, and Class 6 used ice packs. And I got into this big 30-minute debate between the guides of what was better, ice or ice packs. And I remember saying, guys, the customer doesn't care how we keep this lunch meat cold today.
Paul had another challenge besides merging the personalities of the companies. With the investment money he raised to form Adventures on the Gorge, he wanted to do something none of the 3 original companies had done before. And that meant looking beyond the Whitewater.
Our strategy is very simple. We need people to stay longer and do more things. You can run 2 or 3 different rivers. You can participate in a kayak school. You can take a climbing and rappelling class. You can do mountain bike tours. You can do horseback tours. You can do ATV tours. The zip lines have been the biggest product we've expanded into. We now have 2 zipline courses.
With all the new activities and a bunch of new accommodations, the Adventures on the Gorge was turned into a true all-inclusive destination.
The future was a resort. The future was, more lodging, restaurants, and a variety of scenarios.
Sometimes radical change needs to happen. It has made us much more profitable. It has made us a much stronger company. We've been able to reinvest in things.
After 3 years, Paul says he's incredibly proud of what they've been able to accomplish in both merging cultures and building out the company. But he says they're nowhere near done yet. One day, he hopes that these 3 companies will truly be one.
As time goes on, it will take more prominence, and you'll see it being on top of the main brands, and as time goes on, you'll see the flip-flop go on, and someday it's our goal that Adventures on the Gorge will be the primary brand that is associated with the adventure resort.
Joining forces and merging is one way for some companies to survive rough economic waters, but it can be hard, as we just saw. Let's turn to this week's board of directors to talk to them a little bit about it. Norm Brodsky is a serial entrepreneur and an Inc. magazine columnist, and Jerry Silverman is the founder and CEO of Corporate Turnaround. They both join us again. Great to see both of you guys.
Good morning, JJ. Good morning, JJ.
I loved this story, and not just because I got to go river rafting and zip lining, which was so much fun, but it was so interesting to see how they had to deal with this culture clash. And that, I think, Norm, you've been in this world for so long in business, merging companies, you just went through it.
Yeah,
how do you deal with the
you know
culture
what, in this particular case, I would normally say you need one culture, but sometimes you take your weaknesses and you make it your strength. The employees, who I believe are the most important part of any company, having a difference in culture, it creates a culture of its own. So I'm not so sure they should change it to one culture. I like the part that they land here or land here. It doesn't interfere with the customer's experience at all. And probably the customer doesn't even realize that there's a number of cultures going on there.
I guess the problem, though, is that then these brands live on, as I was talking to Paul about, and that's expensive. So you're marketing 3 separate brands when you could be marketing just one.
I love their marketing. I think they're doing so many good things. They weren't very profitable before they got together. Then when they got together, they said they were more profitable. There's one big problem that I see. There's too many chefs in the kitchen. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. And even though the company itself is more profitable, you have 15 partners now. Try divvying that up to 15 people. It may not be as good for them.
Yeah, I think from what they said, the management, it worked. They said in the beginning they would sit around the table and they would all kind of look at each other, and now they all get along famously and everything's working. It's the employees that are still really loyal to the brands.
Exactly, and I don't think it's that much more expensive. I think it'll hurt them if they want to create one brand. I think that 3 brands, it does 2 things. One, it keeps the employees happy, and you want happy employees. And 2, it gives the people a choice of what they want to go to. They don't feel like there's only one company. And not only that, if there was only one company, you might create additional competition. New people come into the market.
I don't see why in their marketing plan why they have to come into one brand.
Exactly.
They're having success with 3 brands right now. I love that about what they're doing. There's no reason to do that. Why create a new brand when the 3 brands are already working?
The other part I thought was a challenge that they seem to have overcome is they came in, so Paul came in, he merged these 3 companies, merged, you know, all these people that used to be sort of competitors, and then not only did that, but grew it. So it used to just be that they would take people whitewater rafting. Now they have zip lining and horseback riding and rock climbing, and so they turned these kind of, you know, family-run, relatively small businesses into kind of an outdoor empire. How do you come in and do that and not totally rock the boat?
What I love about it is that they have all these different things in the same space. They're selling more things to the same customers. So we have people coming in, instead of spending $100, they may spend $200.
Well, and their whole thing is people don't just come in and out for the day anymore because you can, they're you know, a week full of activities there.
Right.
All right, thanks so much, you guys.